Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the ET Whisperer 2024 New Year live stream. I hope you guys can hear me. I hope everything's good. Okay, I can hear myself, which means you can hear me, which is beautiful. How is everyone doing this year, this beautiful new year? We are doing well, and by we, I don't just mean me and my ET friends, Treb and Aridif, and our dear Archangel Metatron, but also one of the greatest, most beautiful sunshines in the history of all of the world, and from my perspective, the most beautiful, and she's blushing as I'm talking, but Kalina Angel in the flesh, a wonderful channeler, wonderful, amazing American citizen, world citizen, and also the sunshine of my life, mother of my beautiful daughter, and partner and wife. And she is here in the flesh with us. Hello, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm probably beat red from head to toe now. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thank you
Year.
for that introduction, sweetie. It's not even Valentine's Day.
I know, right?
So how are you guys feeling about 2024?
2024, yeah. How are you guys feeling? We have someone says, Happy New Year from California. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys being here. And yes, you might be watching us on the ET Whisperer YouTube channel. You might be watching us on the ET Whisperer YouTube channel number 2, which is the backup channel. And you might be watching us from a Facebook page. If you want to join where most of the people in the chat are, come over to the ET Whisperer YouTube official channel. Actually, I think all of you but 2 are on there. So most of you are already there. But
on Facebook or
on the main YouTube channel.
Okay.
So yes, how has your guys' New Year started so far? What is New Year? New Year's usually has resolution. New Year usually has big advancements. We're going to do this and this for this New Year. What other things? Well, what does a New Year usually mean to you, Kalina?
A New Year to me?
Yeah, when you hear like Happy New Year, what's the first thing that you think when you're bringing in a new year each year?
Well, it kind of might sound a little cliche, but it makes me kind of reflect on the previous year. It does kind of give this feeling of a fresh start. And I think having the seasonal shifts as well, especially post-winter solstice and bringing the lights out this time of year when it can get pretty cold and dark, at least over here it does. And it just gives you a time to really reflect about what you want to manifest for each year and for each season. So that's kind of how I think about it. And 2024, the stuff that I pick up from it, it's gonna be an intense one. I feel.
Yeah,
not necessarily bad intense, just
an intense. Yeah,
Mhm.
That's kind of been a consensus from a lot of things. I've heard other channeled entities say, other psychic intuitives, astrologers, readers of all sorts. They kind of said, all right, guys, you remember how 2016 to this time has been kind of a rough time for the collective? Well, yeah, it's coming to its very, very big crescendo precipice energy in 2024. At least that's how I've understood it.
It kind of feels like last year was like, if you're in a car, you have to rev your engine. And I feel like 2024 is when you actually start to stomp on the gas pedal. We're going to go now. So that's the feeling I kind of get.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is something that Aridif and Treb have said a lot about for the last few years. They say, hey, we have this cycle of energy, and it's not just like a third to fourth density cycle, which it is and kind of is, and even though that's kind of a long difficult thing to explain in full, they're basically also saying, this whole time of the last few years of the cycle, which 2021 was the cycle, and the first few years of the new cycle are definitely transitional years. They're going to be the years that things have to shift. So during the end of like 2019, 2020, 2021, the end of that cycle was the end of getting to know yourself. So guess what? By 2021, most people had a real good idea of who they were, because we were in the middle of the pandemic. We were in the middle of the world being crazy and people fighting and arguing and taking these really divided views of the world. And then the beginning of the new cycle, which is 2022, 2023, 2024, these are the transitions into the new part of you and the part of you that uses your heart. So like the third chakra being the old energy and the new energy being the heart chakra. So that kind of tells you a little bit about what they've perceived and the cycle from that perspective. So it's really been kind of fascinating. Oh, I thought you were going to pull out some of your tools.
No,
like
I was trying to make notes so I don't interrupt you. That's the thing with ADD. You're like, ugh, I'm trying really hard. I guess it's one of my resolutions. Like, I'm not intentionally putting it like on paper, but
right.
it is something I'm working on. And the thing I was wanting to ask you is, when you said people were getting to know themselves, what you said 2021, right?
Yeah, that was the last year of the cycle. Yeah.
Is it that they were getting to know themselves, or maybe aspects of themselves that they didn't know existed?
Right. Getting to know yourself in
the
full way. That means the hidden stuff becomes unhidden. That means the things you thought, but really didn't think that.
Or things you changed, things that you never expected yourself to think or believe or act or whatever. I know a lot of people were shifting spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, or even the jobs, the things that they were doing. I saw a lot of that too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Anything you can think about that comes with us knowing us as a human being and as a person and as an individual, that kind of got wrapped up in the end of the cycle. So I definitely want to hear more about 2024. And that's going to be our focus for this channeling. We're going to bring in Aridif, and we're going to be bringing in his perspective. Maybe there'll be an entity that he wants to bring in to talk to us about something. But it's definitely going to be focused on what's ahead for this year, how this year fits into larger cycles and all the things like that. And all of you guys are going to be here, which means Kalina will be able to see what you guys are saying and as you're saying it. And also she's going to be able to ask Ardif some follow-up questions on whatever he shares. We're not going to wait too long to get into the channeling, guys, because we have had a rough time. That's why, the energy of us taking care of our kids has always been a top priority. And poor little Lily has not, she's had a really heavy shift in her sleeping schedule. She just went to bed 20 minutes ago, if that. And that's what's took us so long tonight to get us on the air. And it's what's been taking us a while for Patreon and all that stuff too. And also what's prevented me from doing some makeup sessions that I'm going to be contacting the few of you out there who still have one session or so. I'll be getting a hold of you guys in the next few days. Tomorrow, Jeremy comes home too. So as soon as we're done kind of getting caught up, then we have both kids with us instead of just Lily. So we are definitely going to be doing that tonight, the 2024. What else? What else are you thinking?
I was just listening.
Yeah. What kind of topics do you think are important to talk about for 2024?
I've seen that there's been a lot of fear, and I know that you've already channeled, especially with Patreon, regarding AI and the new future changes that are kind of coming in. It feels like 2024 is going to be extremely pivotal, and then we're going to start seeing a lot of changes ramp up. Things that will really blow our minds, and even things that we never thought we'd ever see in our lifetimes. But there is a lot of fear surrounding things, and I think there's a lot of confusion about what to believe, what not to believe. I feel like a lot of us have been fed half-truths in a lot of things. And
sure.
So I think it's really important to know how am I going to word this? How to connect within your internal truth and know what's true for you. Because when we talk about manifesting each year, it can seem kind of hokey, and even people say it's not very scientific, but it is. It totally is a, what is that thing I'm blanking on, the observer versus the observer effect.
Right.
So and I feel like the energies are so pivotal, and we have such seeming kind of polar opposites, what seems like polar opposites. But I feel like we need more of I feel like Aridif would be able to give us more of a bird's eye view of these things, and how we can go about connecting to our deeper inner truths, because we're always looking at each other for answers. We're always looking outside, especially for answers. And even if we're looking inside, we're checking outside to see if it agrees. And maybe perhaps we're entering into a realm or territory where that isn't always going to be the case. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it feels like 2024 kind of is down home and grounded and earthy, while at the same time it's very mysterious and ethereal. It's hard to explain. It's almost like I want to say like well, I don't want to say too much about astrology. I'm not an expert in it, but it's just very, I'll put it in chocolate terms. It's a very first chakra meets crown chakra type of year.
Right.
I feel.
That makes
sense. I don't
sense.
know if that's making it
No, that
good.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. No.
It is. And that's why it's so intense,
Absolutely. Well, a lot of things have been intense leading up to this year. A lot of people to the detriment of the energies, where people have been just kind of outside of themselves. And we've noticed the polarity of Earth and all of its human expression have polar opposites and high levels of polarity. But we also have gotten to see people finding a happier medium. We've noticed that in the last year or so, where it was really extreme. Now it's starting to come back around to where people are like, hey, let these people believe what they believe. You can believe what you believe. I'll believe what I believe, and let's just get along. And even though it's not all like that, I've noticed way more of that.
I have to.
And to be honest, that's a reflection of myself a lot, because during those extreme times, I went into the most extreme perspectives. I followed the people who believed one way, the very extreme way, and followed people who were feeling the 100% opposite extreme.
When you say followed, you mean you were kind of peeking in on the world?
Right, like watching what they post on social media, listening to what they're saying and talking about. And I did that because I wanted to understand why people were feeling so strongly about these things. And I'm not neutral by any means. I've got my own beliefs. I've got my own thoughts. I get my own frustration. I line myself up in different ways, different topics. It's funny. People are like, they hear me talk about one topic in my perspective. They're like, oh, you must lean left or lean right. And then they're like, well, what about this? And I say something completely opposite. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't align my beliefs due to political values or how I might vote for a year if I do vote, or whatever the case would be.
Yeah, I guess kind of your internal moral compass.
That's
so
it.
To speak.
That's it. Right. And
which I think we all need to allow ourselves to
and examine
have
it.
That,
test it,
to give ourselves that, because then we inspire and learn from each other authentically.
It's weird for me though, because during those times, people actually took their moral compass to mean their political ideology, and that was so weird to me.
Part of the programming. I mean, we're steeped into that from the cradle to the grave.
That's true. I guess I never really thought about these things, because to me, it always seemed like opinions about how people looked at things.
It used to be secretive, though. Do you
right.
remember when
Nobody
we were kids?
would talk about it.
I once asked my parents, I think I was probably about 9 or 10, and they came back from voting, whenever it was, you'd have to do the math.
90, 91, yeah.
And I don't remember the year, but I was quite young. And they came in, and I said, so who did you vote for? Like, oh, you never, ever, not even your spouse should know. And then it's like totally different. It's like, totally public and everywhere. And the reason they said not to share was so it wouldn't create division.
Right. So you wouldn't be arguing with people, because those are the things people tend to feel strongly about.
But
What was the three big no's? Remember? Politics was one. What were the other two? That in the 80s, they preached this like it was a gospel. I've talked about a lot on my radio show whenever I talk to somebody about political ideology. Religion is the
oh
other
no, I
one.
grew up in the Bible Belt, so
Right. That was kind of a forced topic
That's
for
why
you.
I was like, I don't know.
But, you know, in the Midwest, that was one of them. You can't talk about religion. You can't talk about politics, and you can't talk about how much money you make. Those were the three things that you weren't supposed to say.
Yeah.
Those things you keep
Forgot
to
about the
yourself.
money
You
thing.
don't tell nobody. It was seen as tacky if you talked about those things. And you're right. In the South or the Bible Belt, religion was kind of a forced talk. Like, hey, you better believe in Jesus or else. That's a perspective, right?
It wasn't just that, but different denominations would be arguing and like, aren't you all Christian? Like, no, but they have it wrong. They're going to hell. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We had this big, I wonder if it's still there, but we drive down, I think it was on 10. You would drive down and they had this huge, gosh, my brain, I have had so little sleep, guys.
Yeah, it's been one of those
the big
weeks.
advertisements. One of those
billboards, yeah.
Yes. A big billboard, okay, out in the middle, like I grew up pretty much in the middle of nowhere country. And it had this guy, like this cartoon, but realistically drawn cartoon guy burning in fire. And it was there for the years, like many years. Might even still be there, but it had faded. So if it's still there, they would have replaced it. But it was basically a warning. I don't even remember exactly what the slogan said, but it basically had to do if you didn't accept Jesus as your only Lord and Savior, you were going to go to hell. And this guy's burning in fire. And I remember as a kid seeing that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, so I was running around telling everybody, it's okay. God loves us. And God's not going to throw you in a fire. And people would get really, really upset. So I kind of see what you mean from that point about don't talk about religion.
Right.
Because, I mean, in that area, it was just unheard of to be
anything but
else.
Right.
And so they would actually feel more hurt, more alarmed by me saying, it's okay. There's no hell. You're loved.
Right.
You know? So, and then I learned to kind of just accept that's, what they believe in that area. Although I've noticed that a few times, like I've visited there, it's people have expanded their belief systems. I'm not at all against anybody who's Christian, and
sure.
I think Jesus is super cool.
Yeah, everybody loves Jesus.
But yeah, it is interesting to see how many things have changed. But I kind of wonder if trying to avoid the divisiveness may have created divisiveness in itself because it's the secrets around it.
Right.
Now it's all out in the open because we live in this kind of cyber culture. We're like sharing everything and then oversharing, and that's become the norm. And so and so I think what that also reveals is a collective, because if you think about it, as we become a collective, there will be no secrets.
Right.
You're not intentionally going to be reading someone's energy or what they're thinking. You're just going to
naturally
pick up on it because we're
it.
part of each other. So it's reflecting in our technology. And I think eventually, because we've been so exhausted with the divisiveness, at least this is what I'm hoping, this is the pattern I think I'm seeing, is many of us in our lifetimes are going to kind of collapse into the acceptance, releasing that, and maybe it's a harsh word to use, that narcissistic tendency to be like, oh, if they don't believe the same as I do, something wrong with them.
Right.
What it really does is it threatens us in the way of making us think, oh gosh, what if they're right and I'm wrong, and that changes things about my personality, everything I believe, and it feels like I'm no longer standing on the ground. But maybe change is the ground in which to stand.
Right. Well, and this is the whole reason I bring up how the world's been lately, and all the things that are so touchy, like politics and religion, is because we're shifting. And that's why it's in the face of everybody, whether you like it or not, whether it's something you can handle or not. like me, I can't deal with news. I don't like watching news anymore. I watched a lot during the 2016 to 2019, 2021-ish area. Not 2016, I'm sorry, 2018, 19, 20. And a lot of that had to do with Lily coming in. And I wanted to see, hey, what's the world doing and thinking now that we're bringing this new life into Earth? So it really was an important thing for me to look at, but I try to stay away from the politics and from the news and that stuff now, because it is just that. It's a division game. It's a game that wants to pit people against each other. And I don't think that everyone involved in that game thinks that or is trying to do that. I don't think people intentionally say, hey, we should share our opinion about some highly divisive thing like abortion or like guns or like any of these various things that people love to argue about. But they do say these things and it causes division. And I don't think they're saying, hey, if I talk about this subject, I'm going to rip everybody's life apart and get them fighting. They're just sharing and oversharing, and that energy of the internet and the collective is definitely played a part. But how else are we going to get to the oneness? I love that you said that too, Kalina. How else are we going to get to be a collective?
Well, I just thought of something. Correct me if I'm wrong, because of my dyscalculia, maybe I'm remembering things incorrectly.
Sure.
But I'm thinking of, we're talking about being divided or the division. But if you look over at the other definition of division mathematically, isn't division about ultimately, if you go all the way down, reaching the common denominator?
I mean, that's part of division, yeah. That has a lot to do with fractions too, but division.
But would it be kind of symbolically reflecting a collective?
It does. It's a
Common
fractalization. It's a separation of the larger to all these smaller parts, and the more you divide, the smaller the parts get. And
that's what bonds us, though, when we find that we're all having these certain human experiences, no matter what you're experiencing.
Exactly.
It boils down to having certain emotions and certain, even if you're having, like, say, a certain happiness or a hardship, we all have different stories, but the common denominator is a certain way that makes us feel. And I get that the way things make us feel or experience, even that can be heightened or lower, but they're very human experiences nonetheless.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that the new phase that might be entering from everything Treb and Aridif have shared about densities, dimensions, consciousness, evolution, everything that they say means we're heading into a collective where barriers are broken down, where these things that divide us, we still can enjoy them, or we can still engage with those energies. And we could still say, hey, I like to do this, even though you don't like to do it. We'll still have that for a long time. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be instantly hive mind or forced into oneness by any means.
That's something Aridif can talk about, because he's very much an individual, right, but a collective.
Right, which is good to get his perspective. But that's not going to happen if it happens at all. With humans, I don't know if that's possible, but even if that happens, we're talking like the end of fifth density or beginning of sixth density, and we could have hundreds of thousands or millions of years to go to that.
Because the way we've been altered, if we tap into that DNA, and we're multi-dimensional beings even within our own bodies.
Well, that's true. And also, like you said, the Aridif's race is still very one and very connected. Treb's race too, but also individual. Actually, Treb's race has more unity and oneness than Aridif's race does, and Aridif's race is a lot more advanced with the evolution. So I think there's individuality there. Different races grow different ways. Right.
It's okay to have preferences.
Right.
I think the rule of thumb is not to hurt or interfere with what the other is doing.
Right.
There's this agreement not to harm each other, or at least try not to harm each other.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I think the energy of finding out what these years look like. And, this is the beautiful thing too. we'll get this reading from Aridif, and he'll share with us his perspective on the likely cycles and openings for next year. But even like 2019, when we did the same thing, when Aridif talked about what would be coming up for 2020, or maybe it was 2018 to 2019, whichever year the pandemic popped out and everyone kind of went a little nuts. The year before that, the way he shared the year to come was actually very different from where it came. And someone asked him, why did that happen? And he said, because you guys wanted to move quicker. You knew you have a finish line to get to. Unconsciously, obviously, most people have no idea that we're evolving as souls. But so there's this finish line, and still got a lot of work to do. So what happens? We create as individuals, which means we connect to each other, and then we create collectively. And the collective movement of that year was just so much quicker than what the cycles called for. You know what I mean? So even though these are a good measure of the cycles and the energies for next year, it's going to very much depend on us. If we hear, hey, next year could be a rough year, it might not be if we put our own energy into it.
I do want to say one thing about when you're wanting to go fast. You've got it's nothing like a catalyst or an adversary to push you. If you don't give in and you don't give up, and you use it to look from a higher vantage point perspective,
right,
of what you're learning from this, and work really hard not to see yourself as a victim. I know it can be really hard, especially depending on where you're living on Earth right now. There are people,
we all
bless them, who are really, really having a rough time.
We all do that at one point or another. When we're getting beat up in life, we're like, look at me, everything's wrong.
Well, and we're all each other's catalysts too.
Right.
It can be. It's not just about inspiration, but there have been things that can really piss us off. But if you don't let the anger destroy you, or let it destroy your life and in what you're wanting to do, you can really pinpoint a lot within yourself. And it also helps to force you, not force you, but you kind of feel forced in that moment sometimes, if you really want to keep working on it, to realize what it is that you're wanting to advance in. And so when you're angry, if you don't let it keep you stuck in that place, anger will help to release you into what and who you really are. Once you start moving through, because I consider anger as part of a grieving process. It's not just about death, although there are many types of death.
Right.
So when a certain reality is shattered, you're going to go through a grief, and then certain things may make you angry. Like, say, if someone broke up with you, you might be very angry and it was unexpected, but it's going to make you reflect on a lot of things if you choose to look at it from a deeper perspective without beating upon yourself. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Or what did they do wrong? Or, whatever. And realizing it could be a releasing into something better. And I know that can sound hokey when you're in that space, but it's often very true. And you realize that your path really is somewhere else, but you also have a lot more control over that than you realize. I feel like it's a dance between the two.
Right. It absolutely is. And, I was going to find a clip, because I want to get to channeling soon too, guys, because we're already been here a half hour. It's already past New Year's on the East Coast, and all of you in Europe. It's been
we needed
the second
we needed
for a
to
while.
make that sure those planets were nice and direct for us. We're tired of getting kicked in the tail. So we'll pass the baton on to Aquarians.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Have fun. Yeah. Well,
so you'll have a lot of growth. Don't be scared. But
it affects too. Aquarians different than Capricorns.
Well, Aquarians are a bit badass, and I mean that in a good way. You know what I mean by that. So
yeah, and I think too, guys, what we're gonna do. Sorry. I shut it because people were walking by yelling. So.
Sorry, it gives a little New Year's ambiance.
Yeah, no doubt. But so we're gonna get ready to channel, guys. I'm gonna neutralize. It takes about 10 minutes or so. Kalina is going to.
I'm gonna wolf down dinner.
Yeah, she's got to eat
today.
So,
and I know it's late, But
I'm gonna put up a sticker. I don't have a video to put up, but if you guys in the chat can help, a lot of people, it happens every live stream, even if we're in Patreon with the majority of people who are regulars, whenever there's no one talking, when they come in on the video, they're like, did I miss it? What's going on? Where are they at? So if you guys can help us in the chat, along with our beautiful sign that should let people know. But if you guys can help us with this, that would be great. And basically,
oh, you don't have a backup sign? What about Williams?
I do have a backup sign.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So if you guys can let everybody know that we're just in neutralizing, then it would be really nice, and we would appreciate it.
And just to confirm, we are going to be, well, Rob and Aridif are going to be, and maybe even Treb, who knows who's going to come in,
right?
On the topic of 2024.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing, guys. And if you guys can help us with that chat part, if anyone comes in asking, because we're going to be away for a little bit, about 10 minutes.
Normally I would chit chat by. Well, I am so hungry.
If she finishes eating before I get there, then she'll come back in and chat with you guys. But if not, no worries. But we'll be back, guys, about 10, 12-ish minutes. And when we do, I'll be ready to channel. And we'll talk with Aridif and whoever he might bring in about 2024. Thank you guys for being crazy active in the chat. I always love to see you guys talking and hanging out and spending time. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
We'll see you in about 10 to 12 minutes. Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Am I on?
Yep.
Hi, guys. I got back a little early, and Rob is still neutralizing. So I had a very quick, delicious, and healthy. I got a little fish with salmon on it. It's a salmon. I always like to say salmon, which is funny, but I know it's supposed to be pronounced salmon. I guess. I don't know. I guess there's a silent L out there somewhere. But it was delicious. I had butter and pepper and onion and garlic on it, so it was like a small piece. And I'll tell you a little interesting thing about that. I apologize for any of the vegans listening, because that I probably should have given you a little warning there. But it was something that, for those of you that know some of the beings I channel, the Earth reptilians that I'm connected to, particularly Tysic and Indy, were telling me some of the things, at least that I would need, but they were telling me some things about the human diet. And one of the things that they mentioned was fish. I don't know if that was necessarily salmon, but I got like a green light with it. And rosemary was very important to put on top of it. So for me, at least, rosemary is very important. Something about the combination. So that's what I was eating, because the kids, for those of you that don't know and are new, they both have special needs, and they both have issues with sleep. So we don't get a lot of sleep, and sometimes Rob and I end up, just grabbing what's there. So one of the good things about this is you can just kind of grab it out of the freezer, thaw it, and then throw it into the oven and with the toppings, and just wait for it to bake a little bit. So I thought some of you might find that interesting. All right, I'm going to check out the chat because I haven't really had a chance. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm kind of a little beside the mic. I try to keep it to where you can hear me, but where I'm not so loud that I wake up Lily. Hey, aw. Hey, Jessica, Seth, Gabrielle, Adventure, Omni Collective, Jessica, Mike, hey. Wow, we got a nice, good full house. Joe, I see you there. Welcome, welcome. Kakashi, I love that name. It's beautiful. I think I mentioned everybody. Dawn, Lou. That's the name of Rob's other sister, one of his older sisters.
I am blessed with many sisters.
You are. And then you got me and Lily to surround you.
Yeah, I got my brother, and
Older
lots
brother
of nieces
Mike.
and nephews. Yeah.
You're one of the babies. You and Mary are the babies of the family.
Very true. All right, guys, I'm almost ready.
So, for some reason, I just shared with them my dinner, I guess, because, something I thought some people might find interesting that the Saurians were suggesting for me, maybe for humans.
Yeah.
Oh, they had also brought up like fruits like berries and things like that, greens. Just very natural stuff.
Yep, the more natural, the better.
That's very true.
All right, guys.
Ideally skin on, by the way, with the fish.
Okay.
For those that that's relevant for.
All right, I just saw something about maybe Rob can help. So I'm looking here.
Joe Grace, maybe I could ask them. I think that would be great. I still think everybody's bodies would be a bit, different though. I feel like everybody's bodies needs different things. You never know what your body might be low in, and I think also, our genetics, whatever our ancestors were eating that worked for them. Although we've become more and more global, so. But I know there are still places where, for instance, dairy would be very rough for them to digest.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think it kind of depends.
But so
everybody came from a history of eating fish. I think.
Yeah. So Seth, the first thing I would say to help you,
I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No, you're fine.
I was reading a comment.
I'm just
I apologize,
trying to stay
guys.
neutral. I'm just trying to stay neutral.
Okay.
The thing I could say to help you is, first, a lot of times our beliefs allow contact from beings or entities that aren't necessarily so nice. Which means if you believe that you're not as powerful, that you can't connect to your higher self, that you're a lesser being than the ETs and EDs and even other humans, you're going to find yourself creating some more experiences like that. But also, a lot of those types of beings who are parasitic, that do feed off of your energy, they don't mess with higher dimensional beings that are filled with love. It's something that they don't do. And 90% of the time, people have had negative entity attachments. They have played a mantra I made. It was probably 10 years ago. And it was basically how to connect to Treb for yourself. And it taught you the old thing that I used to do to connect with Treb. And it works for everybody and anybody. And I'll put that in the description in a minute. Basically, just by learning it and saying it yourself, or cutting out an audio recording of mine, and doing that, it pulls Treb's energy in a concentrated way directly to you, and it really helps. I mean, go through the comments. There's hundreds of comments in that video. Some people have had help with their toothache by pulling in Treb's energy, because basically Treb doesn't do anything for you. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's an energetic thing.
He doesn't come in and fix your problems, but he gives himself to you, and he gives his love to you. And if you take that and use it, it strengthens your intention. It strengthens your ability to create and manifest the things that you're more desiring to do. So basically, if you don't want these beings around you, call in Treb and say, hey, Treb, can you share your love with me, and we can create a space to protect me. And it helps. It's helped a lot of people with that. So let me find that link. I'll drop that, and then I got a channel, guys. It's already 12:30.
While you do that, my guides were oh shoot, I might just went out again.
Oh, wow.
What happened? Oh, it just right up at the top.
Yeah.
About the.
Wow. Someone used that as a malware.
Uh-oh.
That's nice.
Uh-oh. And they're already trying to, Treb, you better beam your smiles across. That was what I was going to try to mention, that my guide said one of the reasons why, say if you're having like, because people can get a little confused about the higher frequency, why would an entity not want to attack me? One of the things that Maury Gilliam was explaining to me was because it's disgusting. It's seen as disgusting. I'll give you an example. I think almost every human being has had the feeling, you may not want to admit it, where you've been kind of in a grumpy mood and you go somewhere, say you go into Walgreens, you got to go get something, and you've had an annoying day and you just need to go get a prescription, and it's just one more thing, you just want to get home, and you're tired and you're achy and you've just had a really rough week. And there's someone else there who's like really loud and bouncy and happy, and they're like really loud and boisterous, and you find them so annoying. You don't want to be around them. You either want them to shut up or you just want to get out of there. So it's kind of an analogy, I guess, if you will, about the experience. It can actually be so much more painful for an entity to be around because it's really strong. It holds a lot of that love energy and that light, which if a being is not ready to experience that, because sometimes when we're angry, we almost want to hold on to that,
And thank you for the donation, Seth, too. We really appreciate it. Very, very much. And
thank you,
this link, call in Treb, and boom, just say, hey, Treb, can you help send in extra energy so we can create some protection? Something like that.
Yeah, Treb's energy is really, really beautiful.
And
Seth.
it
It's like the
pushes
biggest
away.
hug, a real heart chakra energy.
It is, and it really pushes out a lot of these entities that are not very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you ever felt like you never truly experienced unconditional love, that's a big one. He is a huge friend of unconditional love. You don't have to do anything or anything in particular to be accepted. If you call for Treb, his energy, his consciousness will come and he will just pour love into you. It's really powerful.
It's very, very
it's
moving.
You know, he has his own energy and frequency, but it's a lot like how if you draw in, say, the archangels, the true earth architects, excuse me. There's this unconditional love when you open up to that energy.
Absolutely does. And I still see a couple people outside of our main YouTube channel. I see a couple, one on Facebook and a couple on the second YouTube channel, the ET Whisperer #2. So if you want to come over to the main ET Whisperer,
did you show this link on the main?
I put it in the chat, and I also put the other one in. So if you scroll back in the chat, you'll be able to find the link to get you to this specific YouTube, to the main channel.
I'll try to remember to add that after.
Yeah, no worries.
Along with the timestamp of when you start channeling.
All right, guys. I love you. I want to do the channeling. It's already 12:30 here, and
you're a trooper. Thank you for doing this.
I usually never channel this late because my body's tired, my brain is. So let's get started. I love you guys. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and sorry if I was yabbering on a little bit too much. It's been a while, so I'm a little bit rusty. Being beside you and doing this, I missed it.
You're not rusty at all at it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here, Mama. All right, guys. Love you guys. Have fun. Love you.
Love you too, sweetie. Have fun over there kicking it with Treb on the other side. We have Treb and we'll have Aridif.
Yeah, Aridif's coming for sure. We'll see if he brings Treb or some other friend along.
I put my notebook. There it is.
All right, love you guys. Have fun. We'll see you on the other side. Here we go. Greetings to all Aridif, Aridif, and this is its spell. We understand all of you wish to know more about the year that is upon you, the year that will receive us 20 and 24 in nature. We also know all of you desire to understand this year in greater terms as to the attributes of energy, the attributes of how the collective consciousness will work, co-create, and be within that year as it pertains to your daily expressions and your spiritual development as well. But before diving in to this query, there are the two things that we wish to express. The first, above and beyond all things that are expressed in this day, to know, to feel, and to perceive that you are love, and our perspective is of the utmost importance. Secondly, it is our greatest excitement, and within the same form of great excitement in which we co-create with you, and not only you in this moment as an individual being, not only you as a collective form of consciousness co-creating with one another as a larger collective, but all of you in the greater sense of the Earth collective co-creative sphere of consciousness as well. We also wish to greet you, Kalina, as well.
Greetings, Aridif. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Yes, of course.
And participating in, I guess you could say, this ritualistic cycle of a new year, a new cycle.
Yes, of course.
And I say ritualistic only because it's something that we habitually observe as a collective. And I think for most of us, it is a new energy for us. And so we're really excited for you to share in that energy and share your wisdom with us regarding this new year that we're experiencing.
Yes, of course. And of course, it is truly our greatest excitement to be here with you and all of you as well. Now, looking at your year 20 and 24, we understand that both Kalina and Rob have spoken deeply of their own perspectives, and of course those perspectives hold validity, and of course Rob's own understanding of what we have shared about the years and cycles holds true to the perspective of what we have shared and the intention and how we have shared that with human collective as well, and noting that all things are secular, large cycles, small cycles, medium forms of cycles as well. Of course, this is true not only in the Earth collective, but your solar system collective consciousness as well, to our entire galactic collective consciousness as well, and beyond our galaxy in to the greater universal cycle collectives as well. So, of course, we indicate that which you experience upon Earth and know that you are indeed in a newer portion of cycle than what all of human history has held before.
the starting of human beings upon Earth in the cycle was in fact a forced growth from second density to third density within that secular form, and from the third to fourth density is where you exist in this moment. You are in fact fourth density beings. Now, of course, what this means to all of you is something different, but we can share by our own definition what fourth density consciousness is, what part of evolution that you yourself are within. And that is, in simple terms, the growth and development from that individual consciousness knowing and mastering itself to an individual consciousness able to start perceiving that which connects to that being. And what we mean by connect, we mean what is connecting its own energy to yourself, and what you choose to connect yourself with your energy to, and that is your connection. Now, when we express fourth density, and we speak in terms consistent of that of connections, what we imply is your connection to yourself. Now, of course, this is part of the third density consciousness, exploration and mastery of one's true self. But of course, connecting to others through relationships, connecting to aspects of Earth experience in its daily variety, your connections to your own mental and your own emotional body's connection to the experiences that are around you and about you, connection to all things that you experience once inhabiting a physical body with your soul essence. That is the permanent focus of beings who exist in fourth density. And of course, you are at your starting line at this moment. You have been in transference state from your starting line once. Your December 21st near region, 22nd, was of course expressed in the December time frame, being your winter solstice for those of you who inhabit your northern hemisphere, and your summer solstice for those inhabiting that of your southern hemisphere. And that energy, as it pertains to the entirety of the consciousness, holds that very beginning portion of your own fourth density consciousness. One moment we'll hydrate.
I was just changing the poster.
Now, once all of you understand and know the expression of what fourth density consciousness start is supposed to feel like, many of you already have that insight. All of you have been experiencing that energy from the very end of your 20 and 21 year. All of you have spent now 2 full years into that energy and are starting your third. All of you understand the implication of what it means to start knowing your connections. Let us give those examples by examples that were previously given in this day. All of you understand that what occurred by knowing yourself, by bringing your belief systems to the surface for thorough examination and investigation in the end of your third density cycle, was so that you could start learning how to connect yourself. And through that process, you already started learning how to connect to the topics within and embedded to the beliefs that you were perceiving. And by perceiving those energies with your heart, with your mind, with your totality of consciousness, you were able to experience an expression of expansion that was unlike many terms in most of your personal lives, and in fact for the entirety of the collective. Now, of course, we understand the perspective many humans perceive that in the last few years, due to the unstable nature of your Earth collective, that in fact only backward steps were taken, that only your greatest desire for the perfect Earth was thrown into the back seat, and that all of the things that felt out of control to you gave you the opportunity to perceive an Earth that is going backwards from the way that you desire. But in all of the essences, in all of the specific forms, topics that bring you to that philosophy, understand and know that it is not only yourself that is dealing with that topic at the moment. It is not only your own consciousness forced to look at things that you know are highly imbalanced in your Earth collective, things that you understand hold purpose only to deceive another human, or the purpose only to cause mental or emotional harm to another human. Those must be processed in order to change and shift through the dynamic of that energy. So by working with your own interpretation and reactivity to those expressions, you are in fact using your fourth density consciousness to connect to those very experiences of imbalance, injustice, or whatever it is that you have perceived, so that the collective may see it as well. Now, knowing this brings a great deal of empowerment to many of you, and that can be the cornerstone of all things built forward if you understand its purpose, if you understand the totality of the reason why it is being exposed to your mind, heart, eyes, soul, consciousness in the very first place as well. This brings us to your 20 and 24 year, the secular form of energy that is created in multiple forms of different cycles. Let us start with that of the fourth density cycle first, because your fourth density cycle is an enormous wheel that turns in secular form, and you are only at the very beginning of that wheel. There's not much to be said about the greater cycle that will affect any of you through the entirety of your life, because your life is only one small peg of that great gear that goes around. What we can share with you about this cycle that will be relevant to all of you is what Rob himself has shared, what Kalina has shared, what all of your insights have shared, and what we have shared previously. That now, that going inward part, mastering the feelings, thoughts, emotions of yourself, will indeed be pushed further and further by your higher selves, by external reflectors, by mirrors of other consciousness towards you, to in fact find that part of yourself that needs to connect to different themes in your experience, that will be consistent throughout the fourth density, that will be consistent. And of course, the further that you go into this cycle, the further that you go into your personal journey, and the further you go into your collective, the easier these aspects will be to look upon, to work with, and to transmute. But at the very beginning, it always feels harder for most beings. Now, of course, humans were started much later in their cycle, as you are jumped forward, bringing about your third density entrance into a very far and further away place than most beings start. By the time you had started your third density, you were only approximately 2/3 done with your second density experience, meaning that those very animalistic parts of the human consciousness did not fully develop and master. That is why you bring aspects of that very animalistic self to the human collective consciousness. This is why sexuality For the human consciousness holds such animalistic feelings. This is why fighting and war brings through the most animalistic feelings. This is why human beings who hold kindness are able to simply snap in one moment and hurt others around them. This is the very animalistic protective side of you that never developed. And of course it has developed through the time, but never was mastered before entering. So carrying that resistance with you, carrying some of that energy is difficult. We must hydrate Rob's throat and we will continue. So now the fourth density consciousness as it pertains to humans, and the very important part that you need to know the cycle of fourth density. Simply know that all of those things that you bring connection to will be seen in the next years of your life until its completion. Many aspects of your universe that you never understood or perceived, that you knew needed connection to your consciousness, will be seen, will be felt, and will be experienced. Now let us speak of other cycles. Your yearly cycle is why all of you are here. All of you know that your solstices and equinox bring high points of energy, and depending upon the place in the world that you are, will depend upon that nature of what cycle brings to you. For all of you, spring cycle will bring one form, even though those of you in the northern hemisphere experience it on the polar opposite side of the year than those of the southern hemisphere. Yet spring brings that form of renewal. Now, of course, all of these cycles are blatant and plain to the eyes and perspective of the human beings, especially those that were known to be pagan in nature, those who lived with the land, those who understood those natural forms and cycles. Spring brings renewal. Your summer brings blossoming, joy, and ability to celebrate. And of course, your fall brings the slowing down, the refinement, the gathering forms of energy, the preparation. And of course, winter brings death. And when we express death, we do not mean you will die, of course. It only means those things that are negative in your experience have the opportunity to be laid to rest. The parts of your soul that feel in turmoil have the opportunity to be laid to rest. Things that you desire but felt you're chasing them for no reason can be laid to rest. And then, of course, you go back into the spring. These are what the equinoxes and solstices hold as forms of that precipice, forms of energy, and of course transition between one and the other. So all of you have this in common. All of you can experience these heightened peaks at those very specific solstices and equinox, harnessing the variety of energy that you desire with personal effects of your life. Now let us give examples across the entirety of the season. When you are speaking of spring, you are speaking of renewal. You are speaking of fresh growth in those times, utilizing your energies of things that you desired to start, but felt unequipped to start those experiences. Utilize that form of energy. Notice that in your solstices themselves, there can be forms of imbalance that occur within the way that manifestation occurs. Your solstice holds the forms of imbalance in one direction or another. These things are shown to you by the way that it manifests in your Earth collective. Days are longer than nights, or nights are longer than days in the solstice. And the reason why this occurs is the imbalance in the way it is spread forward. Your equinoxes are quite equal. The parts of you that are dark and light both have the ability to manifest equally in those moments, which can be a great detriment for some of you and a great celebration for others. But knowing that there's one part of you dominant that you do not care for, you will know to manage that energy more deeply and better within yourself. When those forms are equal, or when one is lopsided towards the manifestation. Now, speaking of your 20 and 24 specifically, as for the human collective, great deal of resolution can come in many of your experiences that are perceived to be contentious. Those very large aspects of things that have seemed hidden will be exposed to the human collective in this here, piece by piece. Now, we are not saying all of them, and we are not saying to all of the degree in which they come, but many of you will learn a great deal more about ancient civilizations upon Earth. Your history will start becoming uncovered more quickly this year than it has for the last 10 years previous. Understanding of old ancient burial sites that are unearthed, perceiving context of hidden writings that were not perceived, will have greater chances of unfolding this year than any of those years combined. Perceiving the energy of your own consciousness collectively as it pertains to the governmental structures upon Earth will rapidly shift in your Earth collective in this year. Many of you will see the governments that you hold be more suppressive to its people, pushing upon the will of those people that feel trapped, or that feel that they are not cared for, or feel that they are being forced to live in a way that they do not desire. And of course, what you understand and know about humans. What all of you understand and know about humans is if you push upon the will of that human, they either break or revolt. And in this year, with the form of multiple cycles that come together, the construction of human consciousness holding resistance against that which resists him is much higher. You're more likely to see in multiple areas of your world revolt occur instead of complete letting go. Also, you will perceive governmental structures starting to change more rapidly. New rules and laws will be created in many governments this year that seem extraordinarily out of touch with reality, and then reverse itself back to the most normal status. In many of your countries, even those countries where most of the population have little or no say in the rules that are written, governmental structures will see backlashes from the human collective so deeply from their words, their frustration and anger. It will cause them to know they're pushed too far. Many of you will start perceiving conflicts and wars reach a new level of heightened anger in this year, reaching all of the way to the end of those wars, going as far as a war can go. Now, many of you fear devastation, nuclear disaster, etc., but the probability of humans going through a nuclear war is extraordinarily small, less than 1.1% in all of the probabilities that we perceive. And the reason why it is so unlikely to be manifested by all of you is because all of you have further growth and development to go. None of you are done being humans on Earth. The more of you that feel passion towards something and work towards that passion, the more of you will start to understand and feel those reasons to continue And of course, the collective follows suit to that which is in the majority of humans this year, with those high levels of contention that may and do occur in the Earth Collective at various purposes, reasons, precipices, will show that very deep development in human to follow their passions rather than that of concern themselves with the disastrous nature of the world. Now, of course, it will take a great degree of the earth feeling disconnected in all of them to change the vibration of their selves in one notice or one moment, but of course, that energy pushes forward. And this year you will see many humans starting to work on themselves and stop working on collective catastrophisms. One moment, we'll hydrate and continue. Now, by the time your year is nearly half through, most of you will start perceiving some of these larger events. Most of you will perceive the greater collective reaching that point, boiling over or breaking. In those moments, it is important for you to work on yourself. It is important to not support the fear of the collective. It is important for all of you to give support to things in your experience that are vitally exciting for yourself. And by doing so, and sharing love instead of that of separation or fear, that counterbalances what helps those who are still holding great deals of fear to start working on pathways to overcome those fears as well. Now we will express, before taking some queries, one last construct of what your 20 and 24 year is. In the greater essence, what this year is your breakthrough year. It is the year that even if taking to your December 31st, there will be multitudes of individual breakthroughs of human beings, but more so in a collective sense than what one can account for many years of your history. And through those same aspects of human life that have been so frustrating and difficult for the majority of human beings, these are the same places where you will see that growth and development spark as well. In industry of governments, in industry of industry itself, in industry of human contact, co-creation, global affairs and ways that countries work with one another, global affairs and how humans on individual citizenry start treating each other both inside of the borders of their own countries independently, but also to their neighboring countries who hold drastically different beliefs than themselves. And although they must see the most extreme samples of what they are doing wrong first, before they are able to make that shift, that is what this year is. So yes, this year will hold an intense form of feeling of many humans, an intense form of testing one's own self-understanding and testing the greater aspects of those collective forms of energy. But by doing so, it gives all of you the opportunity to grow and expand as well. Now, of course, Kalina, we will take a few queries from you before disconnecting.
Thank you. You actually answered my first question, which was what you would consider the theme of 2024, and you referred to it as the breakthrough year. So
yes, of course.
All right. So I wanted to talk about something that I hear. In fact, it's been so popular. Are you looking for something?
Yes, only tissue.
For the nose? Sure.
Yes, of course.
Sure. Here you go.
Thank you for this.
You're very welcome. I'll wait till you're done.
Yes, you may continue.
Thank you. So the thing about this that I'm talking about keeps being brought up again. It was really popular. I believe it was around 2015, 2016, 2017. Then it kind of died down a little bit, and then it re-sparked. And a lot of people keep talking about, on different channels, books, you name it, is the concept of the splitting of two Earths. So a lot of people keep talking about, using phrases like making the jump, and you've got to have a higher vibration or you'll miss it, and just very kind of fear-based things around it. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about this concept of splitting of the two Earths. And the reason I bring it up again is because 2024 has been used as a pivotal example. So I wanted to clear up any kind of energies around that regarding this concept of splitting of two Earths, and especially pertaining to 2024.
Yes, of course, we have spoken in greater depth about this construct within the co-creation with all of you of your internet collective consciousness. We believe that Rob has titled this expression something to the effect of the event.
Yeah, I'll look for
Ascension in a flash. Now, of course, humans desire to understand how consciousness works, and yes, there are greater cycles, and yes, there are shapes of consciousness, but as we have shared at the very beginning of our sharing in this day, after we had expressed that you are loved, the first thing that we shared with you is where you are as human beings, and that is fourth density consciousness. None of you that exist in Earth in this moment can miss that shift. You've already made it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we understand this sounds extremely counterintuitive to many humans as they perceive. I know many humans who are not awake. I know many humans who are not ascending. I know many humans who are low vibration. But I ask you in this moment to reassess that construct, to look at those same humans and see if they are more or less self-aware now than what they are. We do not mean what you believe they should be aware about. We do not mean what you believe that they should perceive or think. And most of them are more aware of their self, even if that knowledge of oneself drove them further away from being loving, or drove them further away from doing good for others, even if it drove them further away from your own consciousness. Ask yourself, truly, do they know their selves all better? Now, of course, this is a very large topic that indeed could take years to speak of in deepest terms and with all of the aspects of this energy. But we also wish for you to understand it is not simply one collective where billions of humans exist. It is billions of creators creating with one another, and often your creations overlap. But many of you have created with humans directly, and their own journey has taken them into a different version of reality. Often, when one's excitement is not the same as yours, at least in a larger scale of the theme itself of consciousness due to the dictate of that expression, then of course division occurs. What their own consciousness is doing is what excited them the most. Perhaps they were excited for World War III to occur. They might express verbally out of their own mouths, I do not ever want it to occur, but that is all they thought about. They are not in the same collective as you are. They are in a collective consciousness of their own making, where there is a version of you, but it is not the version of you that is you in this moment. It is not the version of you where your own consciousness is focused at this moment. Does that mean the version of them is lesser? It does not. It only means that their front-focusing consciousness is not focused in that one person. experience of co-creating with you in that moment. They may be co-creating with many other humans that you are also co-creating with, but because all of you are creating your individual version of Earth and sharing that energy as a collective form, then what this means is all of you are coming in and out of your realities, second to second, moment to moment. And if you are not with a version where that consciousness is at the precipice or forefront, a focus for them, but it is for you, you are simply dealing with a lesser conscious version of that entity. It does not mean it will be permanent. It does not mean it will always be this way. It only means that in that very moment, the co-creational field between yourself and them is not stable. That excitement's diverted and created. Now, of course, if you are speaking of how the world looks in greater purpose, we have also described partially the reason you may perceive greater imbalances than that of balances, and that is due to the nature of the extensiveness of the belief system's energetic properties at work that create the earth itself, and those divisions must be dealt with and perceived. So, of course, it will be very easy for humans to say, I must do this to ascend. You are already ascended. You are a human consciousness. Now, of course, this is our own definition of ascension. If your belief in ascension is that you will become a fifth density or sixth dimensional being, you will once that cycle occurs. You are now fourth density being. Your next incarnation, you may choose to be a sixth density being, but it does not occur that way. It is an evolution based upon multiple incarnations, and those multiple incarnations in a larger incarnation cycle. You have chose this specific incarnation because it gives you the opportunity to live in third and fourth density at the same life. But these rare transcendent forms of lives are just these, extraordinarily rare, since all of you have experienced ascension in that way. Now what you are waiting for is fourth density lifestyle. So if you desire a more fourth density life, simply live more fourth density like. Open your heart, connect to all things without judgment, be a part of that collective, and your personal manifestational version of that earth will be just this. And of course, you may still feel, perceive, and receive adversity. But there is no such thing as an earth experience for fourth density consciousness that does not have adversity. There's no such thing as a physical incarnation in first through sixth density where adversity does not come into a co-creation. Even as a type 1 being, existing at the very end of incarnation cycle itself, near the exit of physical reality, at the highest level of sixth density consciousness, our own race still perceives adversity. We do not react to adversity. It does not shift our purpose, focus, or creation, but we do in fact still perceive, because all of us exist in a dualistic universe together, projecting that same creation with one another as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Lord.
Yes, of course.
So I have, it's really a two-part question. They're technically two different questions, but I feel they kind of transition into each other. So, and of course, there's been a lot of themes, as you know, about people going within and focusing within themselves. But I feel with 2024, this question is going to become more and more pertinent. And that is, what are some of the best ways that you perceive that we can help assist fellow human, like help and or assist fellow human beings And especially, this is a part 2, what support do Gen Z, Generation Z, and Generation Alpha need from the rest of the collective? As you know, the future is really going in, the world's really changing, especially in impacting them. It's impacting all of us, but especially them. That's why I'm focusing on them. So to reiterate again, how do we help assist fellow human beings? It's of all ages, all walks of life. But I also want you to emphasize Gen Z and Alpha, how we can be there for them.
Yes, of course. For the first portion of the query, there are 2 answers. One that is existent in your daily expression in human form, and one as a greater collective manifesting from your soul. And we require 2 answers be given to this, because you are both, because you are human beings in bodies and your infinite creator souls. So it is impactful to understand the nature of both ways that you are able to help first. And in like to the second query, to use your excitement. Now, of course, that is not the only thing, but it is the first, because it is the most vital and important aspect. If you do not follow what excites you, you cannot create for yourself the greatest experience. And how are you able to assist others when you yourself cannot find balance, when you yourself cannot find joy, when you yourself cannot create support for yourself? Then how are you able to work with others to do the same? Following your passion will take you to your sole purpose. It always has, it always will.
Can I reiterate, not reiterate, but say one thing?
Yes, of course.
I've seen this time and time again. Some people talk about their excitements, but confuse it with addictions or escapism. I just wanted to add
yes, of course.
To not get confused between the two. If you could also talk a little bit. I know you have in the past, but for anybody new, what a true excitement is.
Yes, of course. First of all, true excitement is not dictated by level of excitement that must occur. Some humans hold high levels of apathy, and we understand. Life feels hard for you in that moment. Life feels difficult for you several years running. Whatever the case, whatever the feeling, whatever the level of apathy that you hold, there's a level of excitement acceptable to act upon. That is any level of excitement. Even if you are sitting bored out of your mind, with nothing going on, if you feel, perhaps I should get up and simply take a walk for 5 minutes, that is your new excitement. If you feel I should play a video game for an hour because I am bored, that is an excitement. If you feel that you should do cocaine in that moment, and it is an excitement, of course, that is an excitement. Now, where addiction occurs is where the energy of doing this one thing becomes more important than life itself. When that one thing becomes habitual, because all of the things that are in front of you that are problematic in yourself, that feel like problems of life, you cannot face them or deal with them, and you must retreat to that same form of movie, video game, cocaine, alcohol.
Which might have started as an excitement, right?
Yes, of course. Most of the time it does. But when that becomes habitually more important than that of the problems that are being dealt with, the things that you are not addressing in your life, then of course, now, most humans cannot work upon their problems because they see them as problems itself, and problems are, of course, things that are hard to face. But if humans reactivated the part of their own self that truly desires to feel better in life, they would not see that as a problem any longer. They would say, this is a resistance in my life. I am so excited to find out why this resistance is here and how to get past this resistance, so that I can start feeling better in my life. So now, this bump in my road, this threshold of difficulty, will now be my excitement. This is where anger serves many of you.
Yeah.
This is where that pure, raw, visceral form of anger motivates the expression of action. Act upon excitement. If your own energy acts upon your excitement, you are better fit to experience what your soul truly desires to have you experience. Secondly, to support others, you must address them in the same way that you yourself would wish to be addressed, without judgment, with as great a deal of understanding as is possible, and knowing that there are some things you may not know how to help others with. By being there and not judging them, by being there and showing that I am here to give support and love despite what support may appear to be. This is the greatest tool to help others. When you are speaking of these generational beings,
Yes.
they are going through that generation for a purpose. The adversities that all of them have in front of them at this very moment will not be adversities once they become older. They will have dealt with those adversities and moved to new ones, just as the previous generations are going through their own collective generational difficulties at this moment.
Yeah.
Of course, the energy of how humans deal with the time period that they are in defines the generational divide itself. Now, these generations are very emotionally mixed. Of course, they are. They are born closer to fourth density. They are closer to their emotional bodies than all of the humans born before them. And because fourth density itself existed upon that threshold of 20 and 21 into the 20 and 22 year, having beings born 3-4 years before this, 10 years before this, will be forced to go through their emotional understandings much quicker than the beings who existed before them. You were born into a denser times where logic was the idea of the day, and that expression was dealt with until you were able to deal with the emotions later in life. So, of course, once these generations go to the precipice of their growth into their 30 cycles and 40 cycles, as all humans, you find more out about yourself. And at that moment, they would have gone through the technological transition that so many humans are fearful of in this moment. By then, they will be the generation who understands greatly what being born with high levels of technology around them can be used for, both in positive and negative means.
Absolutely.
Just as your own generation was the first to understand internet collectives at the level that you do. This is why you do not have your own self being caught with email scams, whereas those of the generation before do. These are clear examples of how you adjusted to that technology, whereas those before had more difficulty.
That's true, but I do want to say one difference in my generation.
Yes, of course.
X, almost cusping into the millennial. When the internet was becoming public, you felt like you were getting, and you did, you were getting the whole world at your fingertips. Opportunities were opening, things were happening. But what I've seen, and then I think, and I know that you have to wrap it up, but I think this is very pertinent for 2024 because I feel like there's going to be tremendous growth in terms of technology, AI, medical, you name it. There's going to be a lot happening this year. I've seen a lot of artists, writers, musicians, people give up because they're seeing art being created through the AI, through prompting, writers either giving up or being replaced. So it wasn't like that when the internet, for us, it was like, wow, we've got this whole new world of opportunities we've never seen before. And I still see that with, and I have seen, older people get discouraged too. then, but I feel like so much is being thrown at Z and Alpha, and there's many opportunities, but at the same time, the conversation that they're being replaced, that artists and writers are being replaced, rather than it can be something that can enhance, something that can be fun to play with. I just would love to hear your perspective on that and how humans cannot give up on being human, not worrying about being replaced. How can you make that an asset rather than feeling destroyed and useless and worthless? I've seen terrible, sad conversations. And I really feel like for 2024, that's going to be very important for the people who love to create. Their excitements are to create.
Yes, of course, first of all, understanding that those who are generations Alpha and generations of Z are not nearly as impacted by this construct, since they were born into technology, even though perhaps in later forms of that which are Z did not understand AI or did not have access to that energy. The majority of them have had that at some developmental point of their own, and as that generation Alpha becomes older, it will simply be a part of their life. Just as when you were born, factories had machines that would require 25 humans to run that machine. And now only one human needs to run a machine that is way more efficient. Now, to your own perspective, because you were one of those factory workers or knew a factory worker, it appeared to you that now 24 humans have lost their job. But in truth, 24 humans were freed to do something more than be at a factory they did not care to be. And that one person who is within that factory truly will enjoy being that one person at the factory. Now, of course, working from this level, understanding that those who did art for the pure joy of art itself have not stopped doing art. Those who placed expectations on what their art was, this art is an excitement, but also financial support. This art was a journey, but now other things that other humans are doing is replacing me. These are all internalized belief systems. If the artist truly desires the act of the art itself, it does not matter if other humans do 1,000 times better from a collective perspective at doing the finalized version of art, or if a computer is able to do it in 1 second at proximities much higher than their own. The love of doing should be what holds you to that energy, and if not, that means for that human who is leaving art behind, who is leaving writing behind, it wasn't truly as deep a passion as they believed, which frees them up to create new excitements in their own experience too, understanding that all things that are collectively created by your own consciousness is done so not to harm you, not to hurt you, not to take away from you, but to give you greater freedom. You must be tuned in deeply enough to yourself and to the greater collective to perceive, and it does not mean that perceiving it will be easy. Going through how to work through those emotions is also what builds you into being a greater human.
That's amazing. Like literally just full circle.
Yes, of
all the way around
course.
how you concluded that. It's amazing, Art. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Is there anything else you wanted to share that I might not have questioned that feels important for us to know about 2024?
Yes, we only wish to share that as we were finishing this query, we were anticipating on the breaking of this co-creation due to Rob's own body and time frame, etc. We will share with you as go into your year. All of the cycles that exist are there to support you, but the cycles will not define you. the same that is expressed through your astrology, the same that is expressed through your tarot, the same that is expressed in other dynamic beings in your existence that create or do not co-create or do harm or don't do harm to the proximity of yourself or within a direct relationship to yourself, that you yourself will dictate more of where this year goes than anything that we have ever shared, or that anything another person says or does. Starting with that which is your most deep basic form of understanding your beliefs, your reactivity, and your conscious and unconscious creations, vitally important. Working with a 10-step belief system process will help you when you are going through those difficult systems of belief and difficult expressions of that energy. So, of course, if you share with Rob to find that way to share the 10-step belief systems with others, then of course all of you can perceive that tool that we have shared with humans for this reason alone. Now all of you have co-created with us, speaking of a year that has started for you in linear time, but to us we have perceived and we have spoke to some humans about, but not the entirety of the collective, meaning that we are now seeing parts of your collective that we have never perceived before. This means we are able to see parts of our own consciousness that we have never explored as well, because all of us are connected. And if we see what is not seeable inside of you, we see what is unseeable inside of us. We wish to thank you for the growth that you have given us, as well as congratulate you for the growth that you are having in this co-creation as well. We wish to bid all of you adieu for this day, and know that not only are you loved, but we love you as well. And of course, we wish to bid you adieu, Kalina, as well.
Thank you so much, Aridif, for this beautiful, morning, technically. Thank you so much for being here, and you are loved. We love you.
Yes, of course. Adieu.
Adieu. Hey.
Hey.
Were you listening in with Chubby Trips?
No. Kalina's going to chat with you guys for a minute. I'm just going to step out to use the restroom real quick, and then when I get back, we'll call it a night.
So what did you guys think? I'm going to turn this microphone around. For some reason, I feel like I got a cough. I'm going to try not to cough in your ears. Whew. Aridif, I love, he always gets really, really deep. Oh, you're very welcome, Kim. It was really incredible. It was, Jessica. I wish I could flash your comments on the screen, but I'm unfortunately not in the StreamYard. And when I went to go, I had to walk across to Rob's computer. When you heard that stuff knocking down, that was me changing the poster. I felt like I felt someone beam, hey, you need to change the poster, to my head. I looked over like, oh, okay. Rob's definitely not neutralizing. He's channeling Aridif. So I went and did that when Aridif went for some water. So thank you to whoever that was, because I was just totally not even paying attention to that.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
sweetie.
Hey, how did everything go?
It was really good. I'm still grounding from just the information was really, really good.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. I see a ton of comments that have gone by. That's wonderful. All right, guys. I hate to do this, but I am going to jump off. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I've got a ground, which means I'm going to be up another hour at least.
Yeah, and we knock on wood. Hopefully, we set our intentions for Lily to stay asleep tonight.
Yeah, that'd be good. But all right, guys. I love you guys. Thank you all for showing up, for coming. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys had a great time with Aridif, Treb, or whoever else might come through.
Yeah, and I wanted to say hi to everyone that was coming in. I'm sorry I didn't type. I just didn't want the microphone was really near my computer, and you guys probably heard me writing writing questions and things down. I'm like, oh, I don't think I should type. It might get a little irritating, an hour of me typing.
Well, that's
So
crazy.
I just wanted to acknowledge all of you and send you my love and wish you a happy new year.
All right, guys. I love you guys too. Thank you for everything. Love you guys. For those of you at Patreon, I'll drop the post on the 5th. For those of you who aren't, I'm hoping to get a galactic channeling out before the weekend, and I'll be on the radio show Wednesday. I'm probably coming back to the radio show Wednesday. So I hope you guys all have a great, great new year, and I love you guys. Thank you, and thank you, Queena, for everything too.
Absolutely. Thank you for channeling for us
Yeah.
tonight, especially, even though it was late. It's been really busy day, busy week.
That's all right. It happens. I'm just glad we're able to do this tonight. And,
Me too.
I hope you guys have a great new year. All right. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the other side.
Happy New Year. Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.